Hey, and welcome to our second open mic for the festival. And I'm here with a couple of wonderful poets and my colleague Mary. And we're going to read some poetry for you tonight. And then we're probably going to have a bit of a chat about mental health, kind of around various different topics. And because we're all international here tonight, we've got myself and poet Cayhana. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're both in England. I'm Portsmouth, and Cayhana is in London. And then we've got Mary in India, and we've got Christen in Georgia.
Georgia,
Georgia. Okay. Yes.
US.
So it's really really exciting to have like such a collective here tonight. The dynamic in the room is really really interesting. So the festival is all about talking about mental health. We are wanting to have an open platform, really, to be creative, to talk about things that perhaps we don't always get the opportunity to talk about, or stigma gets in the way and we feel we can't. And so the idea really is just to be able to share and to be able to tackle that stigma, to say actually mental health is everyone's business. Like, we all have mental health, you know, and sometimes we're touched by problems with our mental health. But we all have it all the time, just like we all have our physical health. And we look after our physical health, we need to look after our mental health as well. So this festival is also about hopefully generating a bit of income for the Good Mental Health Cooperative, who are a charitable organisation, a community interest company that produce support for people in mental health. Sorry, getting all tongue tied, and in recovery from mental ill health as well. So they put on a lot of workshops, and there's been some online work recently, and we're trying to develop more online work. So any donations will be really welcome, but there's no kind of necessary position that you should feel that you have to donate. But please donate if you can, and if you can't, that's all right. Just enjoy. So I'm going to hand over to Mary, who's hosting the evening. Over to you.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Hi, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. And I hope you enjoy this wonderful evening that we have here. We normally would have had more participants, but I guess the difference in the time zone, maybe they have busy or something like that. So we have Christine and Cayhana, and they will be reciting their poems. So I would like to invite Christine first, and she can introduce herself and whatever she's prepared for the awareness towards mental health. Over to Christine.
Thank you, Mary. I prepared an older poem that I had written a few years ago, and I think it really shows the struggle that some women go through on just a daily basis with self-esteem and anxiety and self-worth, and a lot of how it plays into how we feel and act. So this one is called Comfy, and it's actually based on, a true experience that I've dealt with my husband. And if he were here, he would tell you that. Yeah, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any questions, obviously, you can follow me on Instagram at Simply Christen. All right, so this is Comfy. When you hold me, I am whole. I'm wrapped in a blanket of comfort, comfortable in the knowledge that I am loved. Snuggled into creases, heated by the body of my one true love. Then you let go. Your arms drop from my sides and I'm cold. I am cold because I have left the warmth that enveloped me. You start to fade. You fade into nothingness, and I am alone. I am alone. I am alone. I am alone on a couch where you once sat, alone with no warmth, alone with no love. If I'm alone long enough, I become barren. You were the only thing grounding me. You were the only weight left to hold me down. Now I'm floating. I'm floating, but I'm alone. The sky that I rise to is black. It's black because you're not here. I stay there for days and I'm lost. Lost in a blackness I can't find my way out of. Still, I call for you. Calmness is the one thing I have never found in this black void. Calmness is the one thing I crave. I crave the calmness because it is better than the panic. The panic comes when I can't see you. Because when I can't see you, my mind begins to wander. The black abyss that I float in leaves me nothing else to do. I wonder if your arms have found another, if your heart covers another, and I covet her. I covet the safety and the love your blanket wraps her in. They smother me. Those thoughts of your embraces, they collapse what little sanity I cling to. They grip me by the shoulders and they throw me from the darkness. Then I'm still, stiller than I have ever been, sitting on a couch where you held me last. Yet I am alone. Rage consumes me because I am alone. My mind wandered too far. It surprised and surpassed the plains where sanity sleeps. It jumped from the cliffs of reason and landed into insanity. And insanity wants to be my friend. It promises that calm that I cannot find while floating. It promises the warmth from your body. It promises the comfort from your arms. Then I see you. I see you as you walk through our door, and I am angry, angrier than I have ever been because you're calm. I hate your calmness, your still moment of nothingness. Time for you is infinite in that moment. That moment lingers for you when it passes me by, and I hate you all the more for it. But I love you. I love your embrace. I love the thrill of your fingers running up my spine. No, those fingers lay wrapped upon another. Those fingers created warmth upon skin that did not belong to them. Those fingers created promises that you never keep. Those fingers, how I love to hate those fingers, and how I hate to love those fingers. Your eyes, I hate your eyes. I hate that your eyes make me feel what I never should have felt. I hate that those eyes make me forgive you. I hate that those eyes have gazed upon another. My mind tells me these things. My mind pushes me from cliffs I never wanted to fall from. My mind never languidly allows me to lean against the tree that's planted insanity. But your arms are back. They are wrapping around my back. They are pulling me into your chest, that chest that I have to love, that I hate to love, that they are enveloping me into the comfort that calms my rage. I hate you. I love you. It's so warm in this place you've created. It's so calm in this zone of protection. Don't calm my fears. Don't wipe my tears. Insanity still lingers, pushing, pushing, pulling me from your arms. Don't let me go. Please pull me close. Drop me, hold me, let me fall. These are the thoughts that chain me to the wall. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you. Wonderful. I think you're echoing every married woman's life. Like, I'm single, I don't know, but I'm saying maybe that is what a married woman feels like. A woman who's in a relationship. Very strong words.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We
that's
got
great.
emotional.
Yeah, because like you guys had said, mental health is something that impacts everyone at some point in their life. And I know with me, a lot of the issues that I face are abandonment and just anxiety over my own body. And so our mind does have a way of tricking us into believing that something is happening when it's in fact really just your insecurities. So that's a big thing for me, is learning not to listen to the little monster that sits on my shoulder and say, hey, he does love you. He is at work. He is doing what he needs to do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is the other piece that you've prepared? You said there's another one.
okay. Yeah, I can do another one. The next one that I have is called Black Lives Matter. And it is a little bit of a political piece. So everybody may not be on board with this one. And if you're offended, I'm sorry. This poem is just based on my personal beliefs as an individual. But don't get me wrong, I stand behind them. So if you disagree, I will argue you to the ground. Okay, anyway. They say Black lives are a terrorist group. That's the name of the poem. Black Lives, they say Black Lives Matter is a terrorist group. So, and starting, they say don't believe the narrative. Black Lives Matter is a terrorist group. Black Lives Matter doesn't care about Black lives. Remember this, it's imperative. Black Lives Matter doesn't want equality, nothing more than a villainous truth. All lives matter, all lives matter, all lives matter. God, why can't you see the truth? These little white lies you tell to bomb your pride and confuse the youth. These little white lies you tell to calm the masses. All ways you minimize a movement, never once checking the privilege that gave you those passes. While Black mothers line red rivers of sons laying cold on warm days, while Black fathers seal tombs of children lost in a red and blue drenched haze, while Black families are held accountable for simple mistakes that never justify the cost. While it doesn't matter as long as it's just another Black life lost, Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Why can't you say it without flinching? This justice you cling so tightly to is nothing more than modern day lynching. If all lives mattered, you wouldn't need to say it. If all lives mattered, black lives wouldn't need to pray. If all lives matter, then Black men wouldn't die in the street under heavy knees crying, I can't breathe. If all lives matter, Black women wouldn't die in their beds while you deny her justice because it's not a concept you can believe. If all lives mattered, Black lives would not be so easy to extinguish. Until the day comes when all lives matter and it's a proven fact we can distinguish, Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. That's the end of that one, y'all.
That was lovely.
That was really nice. I think you should put in some music to it. Look, it sounded like a rap to me.
And my mom says the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, a woman rapper. We don't have a woman rapper. I
Yeah.
mean, very few. So you could put in some music or something. I mean, it will be quite viral if you do that. I mean, I don't care about the political ideologies people follow.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I actually don't think we should apologise to anyone who's offended by that.
Yeah.
You know, if they're
Yeah.
offended by that, then there's a problem.
Yeah.
Because it's an important message, and you know, prejudice in any form, racism, any form is innately wrong. So
It is.
It is.
yeah.
Kristen, I was just going to say, I liked both of your pieces. They were really vivid, and I really felt both of them. You have a way of painting. You have a way of painting, like, I don't know. In that, especially in that first poem, even though I was like, you were speaking from your perspective, I could feel myself in your shoes, and it just kind of, it moved me.
Me too.
Thank you.
Yeah, right.
And I'm really looking forward to hearing yours as well.
I don't think I'll be as great a performer as you, to be honest, because I probably should have practiced my bit a bit more often. But I guess we'll see.
No, it's okay. It is quite a informal thing. So it's not like anybody's getting judged over their pieces or anything.
Exactly. I mean,
You're
Yeah.
fine. I was
my
reading off my phone.
my introduction here
Did it come
tonight, I
across
was
that way?
stumbling on my words loads.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's fine.
just go with it, girl, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
So
all
we'll
good.
go over to Cayhana. Like she'll
Okay.
do her piece, introduce herself, and then,
Okay, sure.
yeah.
So I go by the stage name Poet Cayhana because I'm keeping
I get it.
my personal life apart from my stage presence. So this piece that I'm about to perform is based on a personal experience. It's someone that I had known, but I hadn't realized that they were going through what they were going through, and I was the first person that they had confided in, and it's just one of those things that when you hear something of that, I guess I'm struggling with my words, but when you hear something so personal and you're the first person to know about it, it just kind of makes you feel that, I don't know. I guess with that being said, I'll just move on to my piece.
Sure.
So my piece is called Hearing Voices. I can hear voices, alarm bells ringing on your face, warning signals, realizing it's the first time sharing that confession with anyone. Staring at me as you bear that struggle, eyes piercing into mine, eye contact. Uncertain, not knowing how I'll react. Afraid I might overreact. Me, lost in my thoughts, mind wandering, empathy pondering. How do you eat, sleep, walk, talk with stress, anxiety, depression, and trauma pitching up a tent inside your head? Having crowded and loud Zoom calls around the clock about you, taunting you, drowning you, background noise you have to endure. No volume button to mute them. Me knowing I'm no psychiatrist, but comforted that you're open to seeing a therapist. If only you knew hearing voices is the abnormal normal, with up to 1 in 10 people hearing voices.
That's
Nice.
beautiful.
Yeah. The first time I saw it, I was like, wow, this is so nice. And that
I
time,
feel like
I
being
think that
behind the
instant I messaged her, you have to be on our open slam.
I feel like because I had done that with like the written pieces on the video as opposed to being present on the video, it was easier to perform it. But being in front of the camera now, it's just that tad bit more difficult.
Yes,
really
but this
powerful.
is so true. Like, you don't have anyone to talk to these days. Everybody is up to, like, on the social media, everybody is happy. I'm going here, I'm going there, vacation, flaunting their relationship, everything. But inside, you really don't know what is happening. That is the thing.
Yeah, and do you know what spoke to me about that poem was the line, I can't remember the exact words, but something about
The abnormal
Abnormal.
normal?
the
Abnormal.
abnormal
Yeah.
normal. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to pull on, and that really spoke to me because I often think about what the different levels of hearing things, because everyone gets like what they call it, an earworm these days,
Yeah.
when you just get a
Yeah.
song
Yeah.
repeated in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people often experience some level of hallucination when they lose somebody, and might think that, well, I mean, okay, maybe some people there would be a belief that that's the spirit coming back, but there's also a belief that that's a level of hallucination. So there's lots of different ways in which everyone experiences some kind of voice in their head or sound in their head, whether it be from one end of the scale of that being what we might consider more of a serious illness to the other end of the scale where it's a song playing in your mind, or it's your inner bully voice that Christen spoke about as well. That voice inside you that I can't remember if that was actually on the stream when we were talking about that, Christen, but that inner bully in your mind, that voice in your head that kind of just tells you can't do something. There's so many different elements to that, and it is normal. It's just human experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I thought it was beautiful, Cayhana.
Yeah, thank you. But I didn't perform it as well as anywhere near as well as you had.
Yeah, and I really felt that because I felt the shock and the emotion behind every word. And I mean, I like I said, I really felt that. And I thought it was beautiful from beginning to end. And I thought you did really well in your delivery.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's some lovely, lovely
Yeah.
poems
Like
tonight. Thank you
Kehana
so
writes
much,
really
guys.
very well. I always read all of her poetry, whatever she puts in online on
Thank you.
Insta. It's really like heart touching and powerful. Yeah.
Thanks.
Christine is really emotional right now. I can make out from her face. She's literally like something going on inside.
Yeah, I'm trying not to panic attack over here because I keep seeing
Yeah.
myself on the camera.
That's exactly how I feel right here. I'm trying
Yeah.
to hold my face together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. For the first time, it happened with me also. Like, I try to be calm and composed.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, I mean, that was some really beautiful poetry that was read,
Yes.
and I know, Kayhan, you said you might slip off during our
Yeah.
little conversation in a minute. So if you do, just feel free to leave the Zoom, because I know you've got stuff to do. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
It's been
Thank you
amazing
so much.
having you here, and I hope you come
Um,
back because we were thinking about doing some more of these. So yeah, and sorry, Kristen, you were about to say something.
no, I just before Kahana goes, I'm gonna hit you up on Instagram if that's
Yeah, I'll
cool.
do. I'm doing the same as well.
Perfect.
I just
Definitely.
wanted to let you know, like you're gonna get a stalker message in your inbox, like, "Hey, I'm fangirling. Talk to me, Kahana."
It won't. I won't. You won't be a stalker. You'll be a dear friend.
Nice, nice. Yeah, me too. I will link up with both of you as well. Yeah.
Thank you for having me, all of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
Thanks.
so much.
Cool. So shall I say? So I mean, shall I say a little bit about? So yeah, just feel free to leave the Zoom whenever you need to go, Kayana,
Will do.
and I'm just gonna talk a little bit about what else we've got coming up on the festival, briefly, because on Saturday we've got a improv group happening, and that's led by Brian, who's local here to me, and he runs the Portsmouth Improv Experience. Uh, so he's doing a Zoom workshop, and improv's amazing because it's one of those experiences where you celebrate mistakes, and you could just get away with being completely absurd and ridiculous, and that's like part of what you're meant to do. So so it's really, really good for our mental health and our confidence, and feeling, just kind of being free, just allowing yourself to go with that first thing that pops into your head.
Mm-hmm.
So if to anyone that's watching, or you guys in here with me, if that sounds appealing, you can sign up and receive the Zoom link into your email, and that's going to be at 8 o'clock UK time on Saturday. I'll be a bit late for you, Mary. Mary's in
Yeah.
India, so you're what, like?
It'll be around 12 or 1, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah.
that'll be a bit late then, maybe.
Late. Yeah. Because even the burlesque day, I was for the dance. I logged in at around 3. I think I didn't see the live,
Right.
but I saw the video that you put up, and that was really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Those ladies, well, that group, they put on such an amazing show for us. They
Yeah.
read out statements about how dance has helped their mental well-being, um, and how it's given them friendships and connections, and one of the performers is a trans, is trans, and he well, Roger in the day, and Rosie on the stage,
Okay.
and dance has actually helped them to express themselves in a way that um, usually felt very difficult. So it really, really heartwarming and felt statement that was read. I thought it was really interesting. So check out that
Maybe
still on
you could
YouTube.
do
You can still check
like
it out.
you do belly dancing.
Yeah.
We could have an online thing for all the ladies, just like dance, belly dance thing.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, definitely. Well, sorry, you're about to say something, Kristen.
Yeah, I'm coming right back.
Yeah,
Okay.
My
okay.
kids are in there trying to kill each other, so I'm gonna pop off camera for just a second.
Okay.
Because they literally might actually be tearing my house apart.
Okay.
Give me 3 minutes.
No
I'll be right
problem.
back.
Just go and do what you need to
Okay.
do and then pop back. No worries.
Okay.
So I'm actually trying to pull together a dance show. So we are going to have a streamed dance show happening. And if you pop on to one of my websites, the Creative Learning website, it's like a course. It's got lots of courses and things. There's lots of well-being courses, but there's also some sacred dance by a lady called Katie Holland,
Okay.
and she is amazing. She studied in India actually for a long
Okay.
time. Yeah,
Okay. That's
she
great.
does a lot of like belly dance, meditation kind
Oh,
of stuff.
meditation, yoga,
Yeah,
that's all they do. Yeah. Yeah, we could do yoga session or meditation thing also online if you feel like. It
the
could be the webinar. We could keep like a webinar wherein
yeah,
like some mental health experts they come and speak, and or we do a like a online meditation thing. We
yes,
could do all that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the possibilities are endless when it comes to
yeah,
working online. That's
yeah,
one of the exciting things about this
exactly.
is meeting people from all around the world.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
And plus, you make so many friends. Like there are so many topics to talk on.
yeah,
We get so many things to talk about. Otherwise, it's always being bombarded by the media. There's some different picture that is shown. And the reality just gets swept under the carpet, I would say.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think that's right. There's so much going on in the world at the moment that
Yeah.
I think in terms of probably every country, every person everywhere in the world is
Yeah.
feeling a level of uncertainty and
Right.
change, and there's we've got all our normal kind of junk that we take with us, you
Yeah.
know, in society, personally, and
Yeah.
now on top of that, we've got um, we've got the whole climate change problem. We've got the ripple effect of that with the virus. Then we've got like all
People losing their jobs.
the financial uncertainty
Yeah.
and the anger as well with racial injustice
Yeah.
that's kind of come up in recent. I mean, obviously it's always been there, but it's definitely come up
Yeah.
more recently. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're just saying there's so much turbulence in the world.
Hmm. There
Yeah.
really is. I mean, I think we're at a turning point now where overcrowding is really pushing people to their mental limits. And John B. Calhoun actually did a study on rats. I think it was back in the 60s. It may have been before that. But basically, he created a rat utopia. And he based a lot of his theory on human behavior
Hmm.
off the society, if I'm not mistaken, off the society of those rats and mice. They even made a cartoon movie out of it, The Secret of Nim.
Yeah.
And it really goes to show that there's a lot of conflict theory in society, whether or not we have unlimited resources or completely limited resources. we're always going to have that conflict, and the more the population swells, the worse it's going to get, because
Yeah.
people and animals react so differently to overpopulated, crowded situations versus when the population is not as dense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
In the global scheme of things, there's loads going on, but I'm just wondering. I wanted to ask, as both of you as writers and poets, what does that do for you personally in helping you cope with all the things that are going on in the world and all your own personal stuff as well?
Mm. What I like, I've taken quite a lot of interviews with authors right now. So I ask them the same question. So the answer is the same. They're like, these times, they're worried about the future. They're thinking the future is going to be more dystopian, like kind of scary. It's filled with uncertainty and lots of, mostly because people are losing their jobs. I don't think anything is going to be all right. I wonder, like even in the economic way, creators like us, suppose we are writers or normally we don't go to offices and all. For us, it's fine because we can work online. We can release our creativity in different ways. But there are people who can't do that. There are people who have been working 9 to 5 daily and suddenly they are without job. So it's like kind of hopeless for them right now.
Do you think though
Yeah.
that's maybe there's maybe then some opportunities there for people who perhaps haven't had time in their life to be creative, and now
Yeah.
okay, there's the hardship that comes along with that, but
Yes.
I wonder if there's also with that hardship some opportunities to find
Yes.
to find that way of using words or drawing to express yourself, and that
Yeah.
time that then you're allowed that you're kind of reclaiming time back where you would have spent it working before.
Yeah.
And whenever we go through something difficult, we build a greater tolerance and ability to cope. So
Mm.
you know, if when you go through hardship, you actually you develop more skills in coping.
Yes.
And I agree with that completely. For me, it's not a lot. Okay, let me say this without sounding completely discombobulated. Growing up, and like I said, I can attest to that completely. Growing up, I my father was an officer of the law. He was also abusive. He was a drug addict. He beat my mother. He tried to kill us on multiple occasions before he overdosed when I was 9. Several of my father's family members suffered through drug addiction, violent outbursts. And I had initially thought, hey, this is as bad as it gets. This level of fear, this level of unconsolable terror at one point. And thankfully, I had a strong mother who, to the best of her ability, kept me safe. And she got herself and myself and my 2 sisters out of that situation. And she became a nurse. She married a man that has been the best father a child could ask for. I mean, he has loved me through every up and down, through every hormone change, through the formative teenage years when all you want to do is smack us around a little bit. And he is the best
Nice.
grandfather you would ever want. I mean, just, I can't sing his praises enough, but even that was not enough to kind of swell the damage that had been done prior to him getting there. And so as a teenager, I acted out. I snuck out of the house. I had a bad attitude. I was very in your face, confrontive. And it put me in a situation that I should never have allowed myself to be in. And I had went to a party. I wasn't drinking, but I was being irresponsible with my soda. And I remember holding the cup out and just dancing and really having a good time and not paying attention to my surroundings, which so many women do, because we don't see the danger that lurks behind us. It doesn't click that there are predators in the very room smiling at us all the time, because these are people we know. These are people we trust. Exactly. And I mean, I speak out about it because I want women to be aware that rape does happen. Rape can happen at any point in time. It doesn't matter if you say no. It doesn't matter how much you struggle. It happens. And so I was raped by 3 men that night, and it was brutal. I was beaten. It was one of the hardest things I thought that a person could go through. And mentally, I suffered for so long with nightmares and flashbacks and scent recognition of anything similar that would trigger it.
So how did you get through that? What have you found that's helped you?
Honestly, writing for me was my outlet, but I want to make it clear, because I don't know who's going to see this video, that did not happen overnight. You're a therapist, you know that it can go a couple of different ways. And I actually was very hypersexual after the rape. And it was my way of regaining control of what I felt had been taken away from me. Now, with that being said, after every new partner or every encounter, it was like I had been raped all over again, because I wasn't allowing myself to heal. I was merely attempting to throw a Band-Aid on a shark bite. And that was just re-gashing open every single time. And my mother, bless her, she has, like I said, I have an amazingly strong mother. She was there. I didn't immediately speak out about it. I didn't immediately come forward. Sure. She knew something was wrong, and she kind of prodded until I eventually opened up, and she spoke with me. And I was 16 at the time, so I was a little hard to deal with, but she put that pen in my hand, and she said, listen, I don't care if you scream it out. I don't care if anybody ever reads this. I want you to write it down and then burn it, rip it up, save it, release it into the world, and, give that energy out there. Get that energy out there. Don't hold it inside you, because that is something that if it does not come out, it festers. Yeah. So writing for me really was the gateway that opened me up psychologically and mentally to an entirely new world and an entirely new way to cope. So You're right. I mean, we are able to cope after every tragedy just a little bit better. It's almost like our body remembers the pain. And if you've ever seen the Black Panther movie, the suit he wears where the first hit knocks him down, but the second one rebounds and reverberates. Nice. And I kind of feel like pain and trauma is the suit, because the first time you hit it, it's terrible. You can't imagine ever getting back up from the force of it. But the second hit's like, okay, you know what? You knocked me down one time. I got you this time. I know how to handle you. I'm going to cast you back out. And so, it has. It's been a journey.
Making me feel quite emotional. It's just so beautiful that you can, to share your story. I mean, it's such an important message.
It is. And see, here's the thing. My daughter, and this is probably going to upset you, so trigger warning, but my daughter is a 3rd generation assault victim. She is 5 years old now. Last year, we actually found out that she had been molested while at the babysitter's house. Now keep in mind, we did everything right. She anyone that knows me knows that I'm a hover mother. I don't just leave my kids with anyone. This wasn't a stranger. This wasn't someone that was ill-equipped to handle my child. This was a professional, to a standard that was not just keeping my child, but also a family member's best friend's child as well. So it wasn't a stranger danger type of situation. And her boyfriend actually severely assaulted my child. She had pry marks on her thighs and hand marks on her neck and bruised ribs. And when we took her and I'm that type of mother, I will scream it from the mountaintops for anyone to hear it. My child was assaulted and nothing was done about it. Just like nothing was done about my assault and nothing was done about my mother's assault. Because we live in a rape culture in America, and it is so normalized that when women actually do speak out about it, we're shunned, we're questioned, we're made to feel humiliated, because normally the first question we get when we come forward is, what were you wearing? What did you do to make them think that you were willing? Were you smiling at them? Were you flirting? Were you under the influence of alcohol? And as I said, when my daughter went in to the hospital that night, because as soon as I noticed that something was wrong, as soon as she said, Mom, he touched me down there, we were at the hospital. We were getting rape kits and detectives and rape crisis specialists, because I wanted my child to have the best help that she could have. And they were great that night. They were wonderful. They listened to her. But the next day at the Rape Crisis Center, and I will never forget this, because it was in that moment that I realized what a failure our system is. My child went into the interview room, and she was 4 at the time. She would not give a concise story. She wanted to play. She wanted to cry. She wanted to cower, because obviously she had just been molested the day before. She's scared. She's in a new place. Her mother can't be in the room. And the detective walks out and he's like, we really need to get this out of her. And I'm like, okay, well, we've tried 3 times, maybe another day. It's obviously having an impact on her. She's closing down. She doesn't want to be touched. And he looks at me and he says, well, her story has not been the same every time she tells. And he said, sometimes children just lie. And I looked at this man, and I said, so you're telling me my child with the pry marks on her thigh and the bruises around her neck and the handprints on her rib is lying and saying that a grown man assaulted her? She is describing in detail what a penis looks like, and you're telling me that this child has made this story up. And so it was never pursued.
That must have been very frightening as a mother, very distressing.
I'm going to be honest with you. I've never been a violent person, but I have never wanted to take a human life more than I wanted to take the life of the man that hurt my child. And the only thing that is keeping him breathing is the fact that she is going to need me for 18 more years. And as a parent, it's really hard not to take out the threat of the person that's harming your child. But again, her mental health has to be considered before my need for vengeance. And I went through the same thing as a teenager, because even when I outpoured to my friends and family, it was not an overwhelming wave of support. It was questions. It was, well, you're hypersexual, are you sure? Are you sure you just don't remember giving them permission? Are you sure? I'm sure. I know what consent is. I know when I don't want someone inside.
Definitely, of course. And can I ask you something in terms of what you were just saying there about that you're being there for your daughter, and obviously motherhood is incredibly important, and your daughter's very, very important to you. And so I'm wondering, in a situation where that must have felt quite hopeless in many ways.
Yes.
And and very, very emotive, you know, in all sorts of different directions, from anger to upset to fear. And my question's around kind of, so as a mother in that situation, and you've been able to put your child first and say, right, this is, you know, I've got to put my emotions aside.
Yeah.
And being here for my daughter is the most important thing. What helped you do that? What were the what did you pull on to give you that strength?
Honestly, the day that, like I said, the day after her outcry, when we went to the Victims Advocacy Center, the Rape Crisis Center, after the detective had basically told me that my child was a liar, and not only did they do this, they called the Department of Family and Children's Services on me and had me investigated, but not the babysitter, not the house that she had been assaulted at. They were never investigated. She had bruises, so, you know, it must have been our fault. And I looked at her, and as I reached for her, and I remember just wanting to wrap her in my arms and shield her from the world and the ugly and the monsters that lurk in men's skin. I wanted to wrap her in that protective layer and never let her go. And as I reached for her, when I went to touch my hand upon her face and console her, she flinched. And her body mirrored the shock that mine had felt so many years ago. And her face was a reflection of every emotion that I had felt on that day myself. And I knew, you know, this is a child that is not capable of processing the complex emotions that go along with sexual assault. She doesn't have the capacity that a 16-year-old has to sort through some of these emotions because she doesn't understand. In her world, adults are people that hold you and cuddle you and tell you bedtime stories. They're not people that force your legs apart. So that's what it was. It was just past trauma, that knowing what she was feeling and knowing that my mother was there for me and how she held me and you know, talked me through it. And so now we have a thing where we don't bring up her assault. We let her talk about it when she wants to talk about it, because to pull up her trauma without her permission is just another violation.
Yeah.
So when she, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's a really nice, very compassionate way of looking at it.
Yeah, being a mother and being a good parent, I would say. That's a very good thing.
Yeah.
And this thing is everywhere, even in India, like only women are blamed. And the main thing is, what did you wear? As if clothes are something that we'll have to be in clothes, like wear full size or something. We can't wear, even if a woman wears jeans or something, it's like, oh, you're provoking. If you wear
Yes,
shorts, it's like you're provoking. It's
you're
always the
provoking.
woman. Yeah. It's always a woman. So why is always the woman? Why can't men keep their dicks in their pant? That is the
Well, I
thing.
mean, you're exactly right. In middle
Yeah.
school, in high school, I was sent home for a shirt that my mother bought me that had a slight
Yeah.
V. And
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
mother was enraged because the teacher said that it distracted the boy.
Yeah.
It distracted from their education. Well, excuse me,
Yeah.
but shouldn't you be less worried about my body distracting them and more worried about teaching them to
Yeah. Exactly.
respect my rights to my body and to show it and display
Yeah.
it and use it how I feel?
Yeah.
I don't get distracted by their basketball short.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
don't. We
You're
don't
right.
really.
It's kind of funny, but it's
I
not
know.
funny at the same time.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So they're so right. But to me, the message here is, I mean, there's a very powerful message here in terms of tackling this systemic issue in society across the world. And there's another more personal level to this, of motherhood, of sharing, of being compassionate to other women, and ourselves as well. And because often when with assault, there's a common reaction of feeling as if there's been that there's some kind of guilt, when that guilt is completely not, it's inflated, it's non-existent in it should be non-existent, but it's often felt. So that to have that compassion for ourselves and say, actually, no, I should be able to do what I want, to wear what I want, and still have autonomy for my own body. And that's a huge message, because having that autonomy for our own bodies is our right as a person. And to be able to, but what really touched me about your story was the love that you have for your daughter. And
she's
and also the relationship you have with your mum. So
Mother.
that has been fed down. So even though there's been hardship, and there's been difficult stuff, really difficult stuff that you faced, that love and compassion through the women of your family has been fed down. And that's really beautiful.
I'm hoping to pass it on to my kids, because I have a 10-year-old son that's about to be 11, and I have been instilling in him since the day he was born that he, just like my daughter, and I teach them the same things, you have complete control of your body. What you say goes, and no one is allowed to violate that at any point and at any time, because it belongs to you. Every facet belongs to you. You do not have to share. You do not have to give it away. You do not have to be pressured into making decisions that you are not ready to make. I don't want my son to grow up and join the ranks of men that have been quoted daily. They're just boys being boys. My son will never be a boy just being a boy. He will understand that gripping a woman's behind without her permission, or kissing her against her will, or being in the middle of sexual intercourse and having her backing out is still not consent. When someone says stop, even in the middle of intercourse, if you continue, it is rape. And I want them to understand and pass this message on, because so many are being raised to believe that they are above certain standards. Where we live in a Bible Belt, okay? And what that means here, not knocking Christianity, because a lot of my families are Christian. I'm pagan. But what that means here, predominantly where I live, is there is a mentality of women are men's helpmates, and men are the head of the household and the dominant being in that relationship. And I don't want my children to ever hold that standard either, because women and men should be equal partnerships in every facet of the way.
And like you say, this message is not just for women. This is about all those women that are raising sons, too. And the men out there, and there are, there's a lot of decent men out there that do take consent very seriously, and that's what we want. We want more of that. And we want the next generation to be raised with those values, and to understand those values, and we can do it. we can do that as a society together if we're open about this, if we talk about this, these kind of conversations, the support that we offer each other as women, the support that we offer our children, the way we bring up our sons, and the way we talk to our husbands and our brothers and our friends.
Yes.
And we can make those changes. And we've talked about this for quite a while now, so I'm just kind of feeling like that kind of brings the conversation to a fairly relevant sort of ending point.
Yes.
So yeah, and I just want to really thank you, because that wasn't planned the way that we've just done that. We ended up with some time left on the poetry slam, and we kind of just rolled into a conversation, and I had no idea about that story, and so I feel really blessed that you felt free enough and safe enough to share that with us tonight, and the message that's been said and out there is important, and I'm sure some of the words that have been said tonight will help somebody.
Yes, definitely.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it was lovely to be able to join you ladies this afternoon and to be a part of something that I can see will grow as the days pass. And hopefully I'll be invited back to be with you guys.
Of course.
Definitely.
You can stalk us on Insta also.
I will definitely, Mary. I think I already have you, and I know I have.
Yeah, I have you. Yeah.
Cayhana. I just need Sarah, and then my collection is complete.
Yeah, we'll arrange it. We'll sort that out, definitely. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys. So I'm gonna end the stream. So thank you to everyone who's watching, and anyone that may be watching this later. Join us next week. I can't remember now what we're actually doing, but check us out on the website. Go to the website. You've got the address down there at the bottom. creativementalhealthguide.org, and you can see all the events that are happening over the next 2 months. We've got the improv on the Saturday night, that's a workshop, and then next week there's stuff going on, can't remember what it is, there's loads of stuff going on, check it out. Thanks guys.
Bye.